Now, a press release came in last night from the Social Democrats, and they said they're done with all this. They're not negotiating with Fine Gael or Fianna Fail for the formation of the government. We're still in limbo. One of the leaders of the Social Democrats is local TD, Stephen Donnelly. Good morning to you, Stephen.
Declan, good morning.
Good morning. So we got the press release last night. What does it actually mean? What's gone into the decision?
Well, what seems to be going on, Declan, is the pretense of talks. You've got Fianna Fail and Fine Gael, who from a policy perspective are more or less identical. You know, we know there's cultural differences and historic differences, but they're basically the same from a policy perspective. And they're the only two parties with the strength to get together and form a majority government. Now, I certainly don't relish a Fianna Fail, Fine Gael government. But what they're doing, rather than talking to each other, is they're going around talking to smaller parties, talking to the independents, to see if they can put minority governments together. We've met the two parties, we've spoken to both of them, and our message is very clear, which is, look, this is essentially a charade. Until Fianna Fail and Fine Gael speak to each other, there's really no point in anybody else talking. Because you see, no matter, regardless of whether it's a minority government led by Fianna Fail or Fine Gael, or a coalition of Fianna Fail and Fine Gael, they'd still need to basically agree, because whoever went into a minority government would more or less have to be supported by the other party in opposition, just like the Tallaght strategy. And so we're saying, look, these two parties, in fairness, most of it coming from Fianna Fail, I think Fine Gael have left the door open for discussions, but Fianna Fail are being very bullish and saying they're not going to talk to Fine Gael, and they're not talking to Fine Gael, and we're saying, okay, look, this is serious stuff. This is about the formation of the next government, and we're saying, look, it's got to stop. You two you've got to talk to each other.
People responded to your tweet about this last night with various things like, how can your party possibly enact reform from the opposition backbenches? Naive at best, cynical at worst, was one of the comments.
Yeah, that was from a Fine Gael lady. I certainly won't take any lectures on cynical politics from Fine Gael and the lack of reform from anyone in Fine Gael, for reasons that you know and I know, excuse me, and everyone listening knows. We have just put together a cross-party committee on political reform, and I've spoken to people in Fianna Fail and Fine Gael, the Greens and others, and there seems to be a willingness to modernise Parliament. In other words, to give Parliament a real say, just like it has in the UK and in other countries. And so to the charge from Fine Gael, how ironic, on not being serious about political reform, we've just set up a new political party to try and drive through reform. The cross-party committee is the place for that reform to happen. Now, on the stuff that actually matters, because political reform, the only reason political reform matters is because we need to fix the healthcare system, we need to fix the housing situation, we need to do a lot of things, and a well-performing Parliament will do that better than a low-performing Parliament. So when it gets to the stuff that actually matters, like supporting businesses in Wicklow, getting a decent healthcare system in place, making sure our public services are in place, in a minority government, you can do that just as easily and arguably better from outside of government. Because, we have to be realistic, Declan. For now, we're a new party. We're only 7 months old. There are 3 of us. It is our hope that we will grow and grow quite quickly. But 3 of us going in with 40.
Okay, so what you're saying is the numbers don't stack up.
It just wouldn't allow much room for change.
And you're saying that the only show in town, basically, is the 2 major parties.
Well, what we're saying is they've got to talk to each other, because if they refuse to talk to each other, there can be no government, be it a minority government or a majority government. They've got to support each other either in coalition or in opposition. And until the 2 of them talk to each other, everything else is just shadow boxing. And really, there's a lot of pressing issues to be sorted out,
All right. Okay. Good man, Stephen. Thanks very much indeed for your time. Good morning to you. That is Stephen Donnelly there from the Social Democrats, who have announced that they have ruled out participation in a minority government led by either Fine Gael or Fianna Fail. That was what they announced last night. That's about 10:20. Okay,